Okay, ready when you are. Okay, welcome to 7.5 doubles strategy. As you can see, our volunteer women are back again for doubles. They've picked their teams, they've talked to each other, they have figured out where they want to be playing, who's playing on which side, who's serving where, and we've decided for teaching purposes today we're only going to serve from this side. We're only going to serve from this side. So I want you to be interested in just the doubles play itself. That's what I want you to be interested in. Not so much even really backwards and forwards about scoring stuff. I want you to see about positioning where we're at a little bit for doubles. And you can see that you're missing just a little bit of Marnie when she gets ready to serve on that far or the ad outside, simply because our camera kind of doesn't pan quite that far. Remember that we have added alleys for doubles. Remember that's a big thing, that we have alleys in doubles. And remember the people in doubles always serve from a different place than the singles players do. So I've talked to the ladies, and we're going to go over and over and over as many things as possible. And what happened right there, that ball was out, and Marnie indicated that that ball, was out. So we want to make sure that that was clear to everybody on the court. You don't want to just walk around and walk off and not indicate where it is, because then you're going to be off on the score. So Marnie always has an obligation to be calling the score out and everybody know the score and making good calls. Okay, you can see a couple of these returns have been kind of wild. So while they're trying to avoid the net person, they still want to make sure that they get the ball in play. Typically in doubles, the return is almost always cross court so that you avoid the net player. So you want to get just close enough to the center service line, just close enough to that, the center service line, that you pull the returner out into their backhand, but not so close to it that what happens is that it sets them up to be picked off. You just don't want to do that. Now that ball just barely hit the tape. It could have fallen over, and then right then there'd been a scramble to see who could get that. And like I said, right now what they're going to do is we're going to all serve from this side. We're still playing the correct points and stuff. We would be alternating sides of serve after this game, but that's what we're going to do for sun purposes today. That's going to make it a little bit easier. So here we go. She's in a doubles position, which is halfway between the center service line and the double sideline. That's what you're going to do. Her main focus, meaning the server, is getting that ball into play. After that, the main focus goes to the people at the net right there. So that was a super move on Mary's part because she was poaching, which means she's cutting off that ball. Now, the execution was a little off, but the point of the strategy was to cut that ball off. So they're going to be talking about this. Do you want us to take every single one we can? Now we're going back to right now this strategy right there, starting off, getting our serves in first and getting the returns back. You got to have a point by putting it in play. You got to have a point by putting the return back. Now that was a good move. Marnie lobbed over the net person. And see how that changed the dynamics of the court? They had to switch positions. So Jana automatically knew she'd have to switch to cover because there was no way that Mary could have backed up to get that. And she would have had to turn around to get it, not run backwards. And you saw right then that was a super, super good time for Jane in order to go ahead and make sure that she got that ball back, but she wanted to make sure that that ball was back at an angle so that it was going to be sure that it was behind someone, not right there in front of them. So now we're playing the cross-court game, and Marnie got involved in this, and so it changed the dynamics of it, and now she's opening up the court. Those were a lot of nice pickups. Mary stood her ground. That's called the alley. You don't want to get past in the alley. That was a super shot by Marnie over there in that little area. And Mary, because she kept those knees bent, she scooped it up in a little half volley. And then that really put the pressure on Laura to get it back. That's the neat thing about doubles. Doubles plays the whole court. There's so many different shots to play. A nice little put away right there. You see how Laura tracked that ball and she came in. It was about a little bit over her head height, not really too high. It was really easy to have a nice little forehand volley that went down and it was unable to return it. So that was what she was doing in between. So now we're looking at another return that didn't quite make it back. So that's what we're wanting to do, is we're wanting to return that ball. So we're wanting to get it into play. So you see that they're playing pretty good with each other. Everybody's thinking about what they're doing. They're paying attention. Nobody's making really bad calls, but that's always something you don't really want to question it, because remember, this is very much of a sportsmanship game. So we're really hoping. Super cutoff again, a super cutoff at the net. That means that Mary is really watching the net play. She's really watching to see the balls that she can come in and take as her own. One of the things in doubles is, they want you to always think every ball is going to be mine. That way in doubles, you know you're always ready for a backup. Do you see how super that angle was right there? I think I've said super about 10 times right now for everybody. But that was a great, great angle. They usually say an angle begets an angle. So if someone hits an angle, probably the next ball coming back will be an angle also. Now we're getting a little bit of problem not only with the sun on one side, but with the shade on the other side. Shade plays in a very important part. Sometimes it's really hard to make line calls or find positioning on the courts because of that. Very nice right there. She went ahead and played it. But what happened is her partner, see where Mary's standing? Mary made that call that ball was long on the serve. Good step in. But you got to remember, when you step in and poach that ball, you better be sure you put it away, because once you step in and poach it, you are out of position. And so she really got lucky, because Mary hit the ball where she was supposed to, but she executed it a little wide. So they got away with that poach. Another nice cross-court return. Do you see how she snuck up? Laura snuck up on that. Mary wasn't quite ready for it. She was like, oh, I didn't see her come in. So she was able to put that volley back and play really nice and low. So they're trying all their tricks, all of their strategy, all of their angles. They're trying to see what people can get to, how far their reach is, what they can put into play. Keeping it cross court. Let's work it here now. Another cross court, right there. Look at her. Oh, what a great thought. That was going to be a nice little backhand drop volley. That was going to be super. But did you see how Laura moved forward? She didn't back up. She hit the deep ball, then the approach shot, and then went to cut it off. So she's working the angles right there. So you have to be able to work the ball. You don't want to get stuck in no man's land. You want to pass through no man's land. Serves are looking a little better. See, Mary got in a little hurry right there. I think she took her eye off where she was going, because she certainly did not want to hit to Marnie, because that would have been the wrong place to hit to Marnie. But she would not want to do that. So we're really thinking about putting that ball into play and get that going is what we're wanting to do. Here's our signs when we need them. But they don't go in here. There we go. So we're also talking about right now, you can kind of hear a little bit in the background. We've got some people that really aren't paying attention to our tennis etiquette. We keep going back and forth on talking about that. I think the last week's lesson in singles, we had a guy that actually walked through the tennis area while the ladies were playing. Right now we have people passing courts behind us, which you would not do that also. The distraction of the noise or the other people calling score or something. Now, it's one thing when you're at a tennis center and everybody's playing, but it's another thing when you've got a match going on and people randomly hitting at the time that the match is going on. So there are match rules and recreational play rules. So again, that's very distracting. You do need to be able to focus and play on your own, but there are certain things that are in the rules of tennis that are called distractions, and you may call those. If someone's overly loud, if someone's making a lot of grunting noises, if someone is hollering or maybe using profanity or something, all of those are against the rules of conduct, if you want to say, for USTA, for any tennis, preferably at the tennis center, and they should be anytime you play tennis with someone. You should not make bad calls. You should not be verbally abusive. You should talk and visit. You should be a nice winner and a nice loser, so to speak. You saw right there that nice coverage by both of them. They got in a little bind right there. They hit a ball that they probably shouldn't have hit. It was just a reflex, a block, but they were both there talking to each other. Communication is a big thing in doubles. It's huge in doubles. It tells you to move up, the ball is short. It tells you to move back, the ball is long. It tells you don't jump up and get it because the ball is going to be long and we don't want to lose that point. It's telling you I need for you to lob over their head because they're cutting off those balls and I'm in the wrong place. So strategy comes a lot of times from communication from your partners. Now you can change positions after the set is over. You can change the order of serving, and you can change who's playing forehand and who's playing backhand. You need to be able to hear what's going on. You can talk to your partner when the ball is on your side, but you can't talk and be distracted when the ball is on the other person's side and they're trying to return it because they would be listening to you instead of their partner. So that's the difference between talking during the point on one side or the other. There are a lot of times people call out the ball is short, move, switch. Again, that needs to be done when the ball is in your playing court, not on the opposite. The same thing if you call the ball out. You don't want to do that while the ball is on their side of the court. Okay, so that kind of gives us a thing going. So here pretty soon we'll be back to everybody getting to serve one time so we have an idea of what it's like playing strategy on these different games right here. Okay, did you notice right there on that return that Marnie backed away to hit it? Her weight was leaning back, which caused that ball to go short. So you want to make sure that your weight is going forward, stepping into the ball on the serve, the return, the shots you hit, hitting it in the middle of your racket. Now see, Marnie got a little out of place right there. She hit a ball. She should have called it because in doubles, when the ball goes between two people, technically, strategy-wise, the person whose forehand it is, that's who hits it, unless you are in front of your partner. If two people are at the net together, super, super, super. So what happened was you saw Jane move out of her alley, and you saw that Marnie saw an opening down the line, and then they automatically switched, and Mary ran over and did a really good effort about trying to get there for coverage, but couldn't get it. Super idea on the part of Jane to reach over and poach, but did you notice that she ran parallel to that ball? If you're going to poach the ball at the net, you need to go forward and cut off the angle. Go forward and cut off the angle. Super move. Very nice. Did you see how Mary watched the whole court? She was behind Jane and she watched. She saw when Laura moved away from her area and she hit away from Laura. So they're doing a lot of watching, a lot of moving the ball. They're trying to keep it away from the net person. They're trying to use the angles, and they're keeping the ball in play. And once they hit the ball, they're doing a super amount of coverage. Again, look at that wonderful point that they just had. A bunch of volleys at the net, several angles, several shots that they got both back and forth. Several times they put the ball into play. Has everybody got to serve once? Everybody's got to serve once? Okay. We're going to come back over again. Come back over and choose. Come back over with your partner. So, Marnie, you guys come over first. They're going to talk about their strategy, their ideas, their points. They're going to talk about what they thought they did with each other and what they thought was the good part that they did against the people they played. So that's what they're going to talk about. Give you some pointers, some tips, and some ideas.
Well, Marnie and I are both singles players, so I think we're more confident in the back. So I think we tried to get out of our comfort zone just a little and cut more balls off at the net and move together.
And I think that because we both know that we're going to move to the short balls, so calling it is good so that you're not running into each other. So when I cross, I know Laura could get there, but since I was closer, I went ahead and said I've got it. So that's very helpful. So your partner, you don't run into each other. So I think we communicated.
Communication, yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Your strategy, what you thought worked well with each other, and what you thought worked well against the other people you were playing.
Well, our strategy was Mary has a great backhand, so she played the backhand side, and my stronger side's my forehand. So what we did was we covered the outside. Most people usually hit in the middle, but if you have really good players, they will go down the line on you a lot, and you saw a lot of that happening there. A lot of down the line shots because you try to create an opening wherever the person isn't. So that was our strategy: is putting the stronger player wherever side they're strong at, and maximize their strength.
And Jane is also not only good at the ground strokes, but she is awesome at the net. And so poaching the ball is what I try to create for her so that she can get a lot of action at the net and put the ball away. So I do that by creating angles or pushing the opponents deep, and Jane just takes care of business up at the net.
Super. Okay. We are hoping that you get a bunch of information from everybody, and we hope that I got to move to the center again. Our word of the day is Dunlop. Dunlop. D-U-N-L-O-P. Dunlop. Dunlop. So that'll be your word when you talk about strategy for doubles. When you give your submissions for double strategy. We'll try to pick up and do some match play next time, some supplemental match play, and see when we got match points. We're also going to talk about in the future how important the tiebreaker and playing tiebreaker points both ways, and showing how strategy makes a difference on that. Because strategy comes into play when you need the tiebreaker, because it has been so close that you've got to have something that's going to turn the tide. So I hope this has been good for you to see a lot of different ways, especially as intermediate players. And doubles. Doubles is such a fun game. Really, any type of tennis is fun. Singles is super fun because you get to work yourself and your skills. Doubles is super fun because you get people out there and it's fun to play, and you get to move around in the court and hit shots that you don't usually hit. But it also makes you responsible for what's going on. So again, communication is probably the key if I had to pick out a lot of things. Obviously, execution, it's wonderful to have a great idea in doubles, but if you don't execute, that makes it really hard. Quick hands are something. All these ladies have quick hands, and having quick hands is amazing. You have quick hands, and you're always going to get your racket on the ball. Once you get your racket on the ball, then you have a really good chance of getting the ball back into play. You're going to enjoy that. So again, thank you very much. Don't forget to answer in the blackboard for your submissions. Don't forget, if you need to contact me, to go into my.tccd.edu. Last choice would be my Outlook, but make sure you keep up to date, ask questions. Remember, all the courts are open, so get your play in as much as you can. Structure it around getting to know the other players. Find you some people you can play doubles with, you can switch on and off. We have women's doubles today. There's men's doubles strategy that's a little bit different, and then there's mixed doubles that's totally different. So we'll put all that into effect. Thanks again, and thanks to all the people helping me. As always, thanks to Shane for coming out and videotaping.